Right now at 6, what court documents reveal about the former Clackamas County Commissioner accused of stealing tens of thousands of dollars from a man in his 80s.
Plus, Oregon's governor pushes lawmakers to pick up the pace to address the housing crisis.
We're throwing the kitchen sink at the housing issue again this session.
Then, retail theft takedown as police raid a business they say was the nexus for an elaborate theft operation.
And vineyard managers leaning on each other to keep Oregon wine a little more natural.
We work communally and have figured out what works.
We begin tonight with our first look into the case against a former Clackamas County Commissioner accused of stealing thousands from a man in his 80s. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. Melissa Fireside is facing felony charges, and today a Clackamas County judge unsealed the search warrant in the case. Devin Haskins is in the newsroom for us. And Devin, you've been combing through the documents, so walk us through the details here.
Well, David and Christine, prosecutors say Melissa Fireside stole tens of thousands of dollars from an 83-year-old man living in an assisted living home. That man was her mother's boyfriend. Authorities traced online transactions, email activity, and phone records back to Fireside, who now faces 8 felony charges. A search warrant unsealed in Clackamas County Court alleges former Clackamas County Commissioner Melissa Fireside took advantage of an elderly man and used him to pay back loans worth nearly $30,000. Police started looking into Fireside in October when the daughter of the man noticed suspicious activity in his bank account. Court documents say Fireside created a fake email address, linked the man's banking information to her cell phone, and then coached him to reset his banking information.
The classic signs of elder abuse for someone in the community looking at it is a sudden change in lifestyle by the caregivers, the isolation, trying to keep the elder person isolated. And you will frequently see the bills being sent not to the elderly persons for review, but to whoever the perpetrator is.
Dan Norris is a former Malheur County District Attorney and was the state of Oregon's first prosecutor in charge of elder abuse, a billions of dollars a year crime nationally.
They are leaving the elderly people frequently destitute, unable to have the life that they earned, and it is a serious issue.
Court documents say the man thought he was co-signing a loan and wouldn't have to pay anything out of pocket. In a text to the man's daughter, Fireside said her dad, quote, agreed to sign for a loan to help me until my investment property sells. During the investigation, police found multiple transactions from the man's bank account that were deemed suspicious. 2 payments totaling $1,000 were paid to Fireside, and a $29,000 withdrawal was paid to Oregon State Representative April Dobson. Dobson said that she gave Fireside a personal loan. 8 felony charges that, if Fireside is convicted, could result in significant prison time and fines.
If you steal more than $10,000 from a person over 65, it's a presumptive prison in Oregon.
So, Devin, what's next for Fireside and her now vacant board position?
Well, Christine, Fireside has pleaded not guilty and will be back in court on April 29th. Now, as for her vacant position, the board today talked about how to fill that position. The county will open the 3-week application window tomorrow into Fireside's seat, with hopes of swearing in a new member by the end of April. Christine?
Yeah, more developments to come in this story. Thank you for following up, Devin.
In your headlines, the trial for the man accused of murdering a newlywed nurse from Beaverton has now been pushed back 6 months. Bryce Schubert is accused of killing his neighbor, 32-year-old Melissa Jubain, last September, just 10 days after she was married. The Oregonian reporting that Schubert's lawyer asked a Washington County judge to push back the trial that was set for this September, citing the size of the investigation, the amount of evidence, and his need to prepare for another client's trial. Schubert pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. He's now slated to go on trial next March.
Officers had a busy St. Patrick's Day weekend, pulling over more than 1,200 cars. Portland police say from Friday through Monday, a total of 85 people were arrested, with nearly 60 of those people facing possible DUI charges. Police issued 730 citations. More than half of them were for speeding.
The attorneys general of Oregon and Washington have signed onto a letter warning the State Department against proposed changes to passport applications. they say would discriminate against transgender Americans. President Trump issued an executive order, you might remember, saying the U.S. would only recognize two sexes, requiring government-issued IDs to reflect the holder's sex assigned at birth. This would reverse existing policy that allowed changes to gender markers on records and documents. The AGs say forcing transgender and non-binary people to identify by their birth sex will create psychological harm, cause confusion between state and federal documents, and create unnecessary costs for taxpayers.
Happening now, the Oregon Public Utility Commission just kicked off a virtual public meeting. They want to hear from Northwest Natural customers about a proposed rate hike. The gas company requested a nearly 7% increase to take effect November 1st. Now, if approved, Northwest Natural customers living in a single-family home could see their bills go up more than $5 a month. Actual increases will depend on usage. For a link to the virtual meeting, you can go to oregon.gov/PUC. People can also submit written statements. Matt?
All right, Christine, thanks very much. We've had a lot of dry time today, but look, there's a pretty good shower over the east side of Portland right now. Look how dark the river is, too, with all the recent rainfall, raining really brown in downtown Portland. But that is rain. Potentially, we could get some hail out of that shower. So if you live on the east side, northeast Portland, be on the lookout for that. 53 degrees right now. Meanwhile, out in Washington County, on the other side of those showers, getting some nice sun breaks, cranking on through late this afternoon, 49 degrees there. You can see that shower over downtown Portland that we just looked at on Doppler radar, not too strong, a little bit stronger up over the coast range. But as we zoom out, you can see there's really not a lot behind it, so things will dry out overnight tonight. However, we got a winter weather advisory up in the Cascades beginning in about 24 hours, extending for the next 24 hours after that. We will see at least a foot, maybe 2 feet of new snow, depending on elevation up in the Cascades. Again, more on that in a bit. But tomorrow, mainly cloudy in the morning, cloudy at lunchtime, still dry. But by this time tomorrow, the rain is back. Guys?
Of course it is. All right, early spring. Here we go.
Developing tonight, a KGW investigation into a massive retail theft operation. Police say a Portland business turned shoplifting into big money by selling thousands of stolen items online.
Investigative reporter Kyle Aboshi is here with exclusive details. Kyle?
Investigators have been building this case for years and say it's one of the biggest fencing operations they've ever seen in Portland. The bust involved 3 different locations, a warehouse in Vancouver, an office in Tualatin, and the hub of the operation, a store in Northeast Portland.
Portland police, wearing tactical gear, raided Card Rhino on Northeast Halsey. Inside, investigators recovered tens of thousands of dollars in stolen merchandise, including electronics, appliances, and collectibles, all new and still in the box. They also recovered boxes marked for shipment. Here's how it all worked. Investigators say shoplifters looking for cash would steal merchandise from retailers, then bring it to the Portland store. They got paid a fraction of what the item is really worth. Then the store would turn around and sell the stolen goods online. The operation had several accounts on eBay. There appear to be thousands of transactions going back several years. The case highlights an ongoing issue that we've been reporting on: retail theft in Portland. It impacts businesses and puts store clerks and customers at risk, and is often driven by drug addiction.
2 people were detained briefly today, but later released. I'm told charges will be filed. And just to give you an indication of how busy this fencing operation was, several people approached while police were on scene today asking about selling their items.
What a story. Kyle Aboshi from our investigative team reporting. Thank you, Kyle.
In our series, Stuck in the Middle, we're keeping an eye on programs to help more Oregonians find housing they consider affordable.
Yeah, and there are several bills this legislative session meant to do just that. Tim Gordon is here now for a look at the bills the governor is trying to get passed. Good evening, Tim.
Yeah, good evening, guys. And with a $2 billion budget proposal to work on housing and homelessness issues for the next 2-year period, it's a top priority for the governor. And it has been since her time in the legislature, leading Democrats as Speaker of the House. But progress to build more affordable housing has not been as fast as she or her critics want. This session, Kotek says she has bills that cut red tape and move construction along at a faster pace without cutting corners. The governor is also the lead on House Bill 2138, which would expand development of a variety of housing options in existing neighborhoods. It's called middle housing, that builds multiple units, often on lots that previously held a large single-family home. We've profiled this. In Portland, it is by far the biggest type of housing development happening right now, and the governor wants to see more of it across the state.
We're always going to have single family, standalone homes. We're going to have apartment complexes, but in existing neighborhoods and communities, different types of housing, all those options, whether it's a townhome or a duplex or a triplex, fitting into existing neighborhoods is going to give people a lot more options. If you're a senior and you want to retire in the community that you've been living in with your kids, you don't need a big house anymore. You might need a townhome.
So that's a big one of many housing-related bills lawmakers are considering, although it's too early to say what will pass and what won't. But Kotek says she's optimistic, and with supermajorities for Democrats this session, she has a pretty good reason to be. Guys, back to you.
It'll be interesting to see what bills potentially pass this session. Thank you for your reporting, Tim.